Okay, I just would like to say a word about the place we're in. This is around 500 of these barracks in Auschwitz. By the time the war ended, of those are around 12 to 14 left. These were portable barracks created for the German army. They were for the horses, because the German army used a lot of horses still to pull carts and so on, and horses needed protection on the front. So these barracks came as a kit, and they could be created overnight by a platoon of 30 engineers with one lieutenant, with one skilled craftsman. And in 1940, early 42, the SS had decided to start to build Birkenau, but in fact they were not allocated any building materials for it. And so the first barracks, which we'll see later on the other side of the train track, were built as recycled bricks from the farms which were pulled down, which were here. But they ran out of bricks. And then as a kind of godsend to the SS, but not to the inmates, these prefabricated barracks were offered, 500 of them, and they were brought to the camp. The official capacity of a barrack like this was for 48 horses. 48 horses in SS calculation translated an official capacity of 400 people in here, but practically this barrack would have housed around 1,000 people. The only source of heating are the two little stoves at the end, which didn't work at all. No sanitation, no toilets, no water, no anything in this barrack. So this was not a pleasant place. In 1945, the city of Warsaw was destroyed. There was such a shortage of houses in Poland that the Polish government decided to take almost all of the barracks which were here, because they were kids. They could again be put on a train, and they were sent to Warsaw to house the construction crews which rebuilt Warsaw, which we'll see at the end of our trip, the old city. And that's why so few of these barracks are left here. But we will see in the landscape everywhere are chimneys. So the chimneys we'll see are always the two chimneys, because they were not portable, which every barrack had. But the barrack itself went to Warsaw and was lost afterwards. So I would like to introduce Faigie right now. What can I say about her? I think that last year's testimony in Auschwitz was an amazing moment for all of us. We did it in another barrack. We have a little bit more space this time, but the present is now going to merge with the past, and I wish us all great attention and great love for Faigie as she is going to take us on this journey.
Good afternoon, everyone. Those who don't know me, my name is Faigie Libman. I am a wife, a mother, a grandmother, and as of recently, a great-grandmother. I happen to be one of the youngest survivors from Kaunas, Lithuania, a very cosmopolitan city, university, museums. People who are very learned in Kaunas. I was in Kaunas ghetto, concentration camp, and 4 labor camps. I never spoke what happened to me. We came to Montreal. I went to school. I became an accountant. Got married. Had 4 children, 3 sons and a daughter. I would not speak. To this day, I don't know why. A young man in London, Ontario, in St. Amoungst Catholic School said, maybe you felt guilty. Could be. I don't know. What made me start to speak? 1989. Can you imagine the length of time? I had lots of friends. Everybody knew that I'm a greenie. We were called greenhorns in those days. And that learning is the most important thing. And I was born on the other side, but nobody knew anything. When my mother would say something, how on the death march, she used to put my shoes in her bosom to warm them up. I used to say, "Mother the children." I'm going to tell you what made me speak. June 18, 1982, Toronto, Canada. I came home from school as I changed vocations, and I became a junior kindergarten teacher. 4 and 5-year-olds are absolutely delicious. And I opened the Toronto Star. You read the Star. I had 2 classes, so this was in the afternoon, and it says, "North York man charged with Nazi war crimes by West Germany." Can you imagine? And when I read on, it said, a 73-year-old North York man was arrested yesterday, 41 years, for taking part in the massacre of 10,500 Jews in Kaunas, Lithuania. I can't describe my feelings. Like everything that I suppose I was hiding down here came back. And it said that this North York man, named Helmut Rauka, lived on Ontobi Street in North York. And it's crazy, because he lived a couple of streets away where I lived, if you know where Newtonbrook High School is, on Fontainebleau. That's a couple of streets away where he lived for 41 years. The RCMP, with the help of a gentleman, David Mathers, did a lot of homework, and he was arrested. He was extradited. The only Nazi extradited from Canada, can you imagine? To West Germany, and he died in jail. I can't describe my feelings. I can't tell you. He was, and I'll tell you exactly where I met him, where I saw him, and what he did. The war started in 1939 in Poland, in Europe. In Lithuania, June 1941, Russia invaded Lithuania. And things were good. I was a very privileged child. My father owned an international bookstore. My mother came from a small town, persuaded her parents, and she became a surgical nurse. Can you imagine a Jewish girl, a surgical nurse in a very big hospital? I was the youngest, the only child, the youngest grandchild. My father's parents lived in Kaunas, my mother's parents in the small towns. She was the youngest one, had 4 sisters, had a brother who emigrated to South Africa, 1 sister in Montreal, and 1 sister to New Rochelle before the war. June 1941. We woke up to a terrible noise. Bombs were falling. And you didn't know what was happening. People were dying, people got hurt, and our telephone rang, and my mother was mobilized. I'll always remember that expression, mobilized, to come to the hospital as being a surgical nurse to help people who were hurt. She took my father and me with her, and I don't remember how many days she worked around the clock. You have to understand, my father was my very best friend. I had a nanny. My mother's, I know she loved me, my mother's life was nursing. She always worked. I spent some time with my mother in Memel, that's on the border.